everybody, and welcome to Let's Look at Torchlight 2. This is the hotly anticipated, question mark, sequel to Torchlight 1, obviously, not Torchlight 4, that was released a few years ago. It's like a Diablo-like dungeon crawler, I don't know, semi-roguelike action RPG. This is kind of embarrassing for me to admit as someone who is, I guess, sort of known for playing indie games, but I actually didn't spend any time with the original Torchlight. It was 100% unfamiliar with the franchise going into this game, but Runic was nice enough to set me up with beta access to what is a fairly early but also polished build of Torchlight 2 that showcases the first act of what will eventually be the finished game, and I gotta say, I am pretty goddamn impressed. I've probably sunk about maybe 3 to 4 hours into this so far, which took me from the very start of the game to the end of the first act, which is the end of the beta. And I'm very, very impressed so far, so I'm hoping to show you guys some impressions today. I have been dealing with a little bit of crashes just because I'm recording it with Fraps. It performed and played fine when I recorded it, or when I didn't record it, when I was just playing recreationally. But now that I'm getting down to business, we got problems. Anyway, I won't bore you with that. We will start a new game here, because like I said, I was at the end of the first act, so I have to make a new character. Now this is our class selection screen. You can see like a typical RPG, there are a few different classes to choose from. You've got Ember Mage, which is like our magic user. Berserker, which is like our barbarian, melee, close quarters combat type of guy. It's exactly what I look like in real life right there. We have Outlander, which is kind of like, you could maybe say like a rogue type class. It seems like they specialize in ranged attacks and they also use a little bit of magic. And then Engineer, which is kind of like, I don't know, it's hard to say. I played as an engineer my first time through the game. And what I would like to say is that in terms of like weapon use, it doesn't seem like the classes really differ that much, because any class can use any weapon that I've come across so far. Like, despite the fact that the engineer uses like a huge ass wrench right here, I could come across wands when I played through my run as an engineer and I could use them just fine. I could come across guns and use those just fine, crossbows, etc., etc. But definitely in terms of like the skills that you have and the attributes that you probably want to put your points into, that will change from class to class. So let's play as an Outlander this time, who's going to be more of like a roguelike character. I was playing an engineer last time, as I mentioned. And you may notice that, like, as you look at these characters, this doesn't have your typical kind of like sword and sorcery aesthetic. It's got more of a steampunk thing going on, although there are elements of that sword and sorcery stuff too as well. So let's play as an Outlander. We can play as male or female. Let's play as female. And we can randomize our appearance, but we can also change it, you know, by clicking these sliders if we wanted to. They are presets, though. They're not, like, totally customizable. But anyway, this lady kind of looks like Yorveth from The Witcher 2, so we will name her Outlast. Get it? I'm hilarious. And then the other thing that Torchlight has going for it that a lot of games don't have is the element of a pet, which is this animal that not only carries around extra inventory for you, because your inventory is obviously limited, but it also attacks, and this can actually be very beneficial, especially if you're playing solo. You have another person doing damage, which is nice in case you get immobilized or something. So we can have this dope-ass panther, cute as a button bulldog, or, you know, this tiny little Paris Hilton dog, which doesn't really appeal to me that much, or a goddamn dinosaur or something. But anyway, I'm gonna take badass wolf and I'm gonna make him look like Scar from The Lion King, and then I'm gonna name him Scar Wolf because I am creative. Now when we do this, we can choose our difficulty. I'm gonna go on normal, which is what I played on last time. And actually, when I played through the beta for the first time, I only died once over the course of my 3 to 4 hours. So it's possible that maybe, like, if I wasn't recording right now, I would probably go on veteran or something now, because it seems like normal is a little bit too easy. And of course there is hardcore mode as well with permadeath, but we're just gonna play normal. Only the internet is allowed right now. Oh god, okay guys, don't look at my password. There we go, got that in there. And we can only play on the internet right now. Single player is disabled for the beta, so I'm gonna create a game. Diablo 3 launch party. Password fart. Bet you want in this game, don't you, suckers? Obviously, I've used this before. Like I said, I've had some crashes, so this is what I used when I set up my recording for the last time. Anyway, we got a video coming in here, but I'm just going to ignore that because I don't want to give away too much of the story. And this is the kind of interface that we spend most of our time in Torchlight 2 with. I'm going to turn off tips because I know what I'm doing, and I can explain it as good or better than the game can. So as you're running around here with the left mouse button, you will encounter people in the environment that have exclamation points or question marks over their head, indicating they want to talk to you, not that they just discovered Solid Snake. But anyway, we'll talk to this guy. I'll let him speak.
As far as I can go. You should carry on to the Asterian Enclave, but you're on your own. Warn them that the Alchemist destroyed Torchlight and is headed their way. He may be there already.
Alright, so I don't want to show all of the like voice acting in the game. I'm not going to shut up through all of that, but I did want to demonstrate that there is voice acting for all of these quest prompts that you get. And on this quest prompt, you can also see a lot of valuable information. For example, what are we trying to do? Oh, you should carry on to the Asterian Enclave. Cool. My rewards for completing this quest are down at the bottom. I can get 213 gold, 1400 experience, and then after I complete it, I can choose from one of these three items. So I can kind of tailor my upgrades as I see fit. But anyway, he's given me the quest. So let's get the heck out of Dodge and start here in Act 1. Like I said, I'm not going to say too much about the story, partly because I'm woefully ignorant of the kind of lore of Torchlight. Just going to focus more on the gameplay. So what I'm doing right now, basically just clicking on these guys, and if you hold down the mouse button, you will continue to attack. If you only click on them once, you only attack once. Now this is just my left click, but also, as you notice, like those Diablo-like orbs at the bottom. Here's a fun drinking game for this video. Take a drink every time I say Diablo. But I also have mana on the right side, in addition to my health, and I can use my mana to perform some skills. I've never played as the Outlander, so let's see what this skill does. Glaive Throw. Hurl a throwing glaive, slicing through your target, rebounding to strike additional foes, and generating extra charge. Okay, so let's try this out. Just like Silencer from Dota 2, right? That was easy enough. So we're just going to keep attacking this, guys. She seems way stronger than the engineer does right at the very beginning. I don't like this. So we're going to loot this dead Vanquisher guard. Hopefully this guy doesn't care too much about me stealing all the shit from his buddy's grave. Get some health and mana potions, which are very plentiful, which is part of the reason I thought the difficulty was a little bit lower than I expected when I first started playing. And then this guy's got a question mark, so he's got a quest for us.
Glad you made it.
No, he's actually telling us that we completed a quest, which was, I guess, saving his life. Unspoken quest. And this is kind of a cool part of Torchlight, is, I touched on it earlier, how you can actually tailor the upgrades that you get. So we can choose here. We can choose Farmer's Shotgun with two-handed, which does 26 damage per second, but also has knockback. Or we can take Tough Varmint Cinch, which is a collar that we can only put on our pet. It gives +3 to physical armor, which is kind of cool. Or the Pocket Pistol, which I think I'm going to take. This does 30 damage per second, and we can dual wield that. So that's cool. Yeah, we'll take that. Unfortunately, we can't wield it yet, as you see in my inventory. Requires level 2, but we're almost there if you look at that experience meter at the very bottom. So we'll just continue going on here, looting some guards, killing some monsters. So far, again, take a drink. The combat is very much like Diablo 2, as far as I've noticed. Like, it's not like obviously nuanced like a Dark Souls or a Witcher or anything like that. It's more about kind of just looking cool, although there is strategy involved, particularly if you're playing in a multiplayer party. You obviously want to leverage like your strengths and weaknesses. But anyway, we leveled up, so I'll show what that's like. If you've played an RPG before, you're probably familiar with it. We get 5 stat points per level that we can put in whatever of these 4 attributes we want. Since I am an Outlander, I'll probably focus mostly on dexterity, I guess. Why not 1 vitality and 1 focus? Focus is like our mana stat, basically, like our intelligence or our faith, I guess you could say. And we also get 1 point that we can put into a skill, and every character has 3 different tabs which indicate their skills. So our Warfare skill will allow us to do Rapid Fire, or there's passives over here on the right side as well. So what is this? Plus 2% ranged weapon damage, extra wand range. What about Lore? We can increase our glaives, or we gain charge faster, which is another kind of barometer. Well, not a barometer, another kind of attribute, or I guess resource is a better way to put it, that I am not 100% familiar with. Or we got a little bit of magic here, plus 2% to ice, fire, and electric, plus 4% to poison. I'm just going to go with always enabled, plus 2% ranged weapon damage. I think that'll add up, especially as I get like really good weapons, which hopefully I will at some point. But otherwise, we'll just continue to murder these guys. I think it's going pretty well so far. And the other thing I should do is equip that extra weapon that I got. So we can put it here. One thing I'd like to point out is that, unlike a lot of RPGs... Okay, maybe we'll fight this guy first, because he's being an asshole. Unlike a lot of games like this that drop a lot of loot, this actually gives you a very easy, kind of like visual way to compare what you're seeing. So right here you can see in my left hand I've got Initiate Matchlock, which does 18 damage per second. And in my inventory I have this Pocket Pistol. I can see, wow, that does like almost twice as much damage per second. So I can just equip that with right click, and I'll sell this pistol when I eventually get to this town. So Torchlight is definitely, like, at heart, a loot fest. It's very much like a Diablo type of game where the fun of it doesn't necessarily come in, like, the difficulty of what you're going through, but it comes in, like, playing with friends. Let's murder this war beast. Man, this is so much easier than when I played through as the engineer the first time. It comes through like playing it with friends and like getting the loot. And what I really like that Torchlight does when I played multiplayer is that it gives everybody separate loot. So it's not like one good item will drop from a quest and then you have to compete with your friends to see who's gonna get it first. Instead, it gives everyone their own personal loot, so there's no more fighting over like who gets what, which I think is a really good way to handle it. Because man, God knows people have probably like had relationships break apart because of you know, someone took like a rare or unique item from a meth drop or something in Diablo 2. So I can't open that golden chest yet. I guess I'm missing a key. Now, sometimes you will encounter people or enemies whose names are in purple, and usually this means that they are either a champion or a boss of some sort. Champion in the like Binding of Isaac way, but mostly this just means they're more difficult. So we did get the golden key here, so that means I can come down here and open this chest up. Got some gold, got some unidentified items. I'll talk about these very quickly. So we did get a pocket pistol, hasty pocket pistol with an empty socket. It's got +1 critical hit chance, +2 attack speed. We'll definitely equip that in our right hand. So now we're doing way more damage than we were at the start of the game, getting rid of these 2 matchlock pistols. We also have an unidentified item. Now, I'm not sure if I have any scrolls of identify. I do, I have a couple. So, you know, like in Diablo, when you encounter unidentified items, you have to identify them in order to be able to use them. So let's identify this. Charged Rock Splinter Club, +3 damage, +8 electrical damage. This is a pretty good item, and I cannot equip it right now, but it's, like I said earlier, it's not class-based. It's not like, this can only be used by engineers. It's, oh, you need to be level 6 or have 20 strength, which I'm not even close to. What was the other thing I wanted to point out? We got light boots, not exactly the same. Yeah, the other thing is these specs, which basically work the same way gems work in another RPG that shall not be named. So we can basically take this spec, and you can see if we put it in armor, we get 8 ice resistance. If we put it in a weapon, we get 7 ice damage. So we'll put this in this pistol, which should give our right hand, or I guess that's our left hand, 7 extra ice damage, which is cool. And we will level up again shortly, and then continue to progress to this first hub world. This is basically just the tutorial level of the game. Like, if I hadn't turned hints off, like, every time I killed an enemy there would be hints trying to teach me something new about the game. But I think I'm doing a fairly good job of conveying the actual, you know, mechanics of the game so far. So we're getting a little bit low on health. I think health does regenerate on its own, but we can also take potions, although I don't need to right now. We got Nux, which apparently is like a brass knuckles type deal, but I don't really have any interest in using those right now. So we've got these Vanquisher Guards that we saved, and now we are finally going to get to the hub world, so I can explain a little bit more of the kind of town mechanic of Torchlight 2, which again, if you play Diablo, you're probably going to be pretty familiar with. So we have to speak to the Grand Regent in here, which is this lady or dude up here.
I thank you for your warning, but it is
again, I'm just going to skip over the story stuff, but he's basically giving me a quest. Oh no, he's giving me a reward here. Hasty Stocking Gun is probably what we're going to want to take, because obviously, you gave us a quest as well, because obviously that is our primary weapon right now. But as far as I can tell, you can tailor your build pretty much to whatever you want. So let's look at our inventory. We got these pistols. We can't use this new gun yet because you need to be level 5. That's fine. What we will do is place this in our stash because we want to keep it later, and then we will sell everything else. There's also a shared stash in case you want to give items to your the people you're playing with online. And definitely the online multiplayer is going to be a big component of this. When I was playing it online yesterday, people were actually incredibly helpful, which is kind of a nice change of pace after playing with the really combative community of Dota 2. So what I did there was just sell the items that I didn't need. This is Tinya. She's a general goods warrior. Or vendor. Okay, that was kind of a small font choice. I just kind of thought that was a funny title. General goods warrior. We got a blacksmith as well, if we wanted to buy new armor or something, but I think we're okay as far as items go right now. One thing I really like... Oh, I gotta level up too. Let's again add a lot of points to dexterity, which does... I guess strength doesn't affect our weapon damage because we're using guns, but dexterity might. Yeah, let's just pump it all into dexterity. You know what? Let's put a few points into vitality, because I would like to have some extra HP. Oop, didn't mean to click on that. One thing I really like that that Torchlight does... Oh, 1 second. God damn it, gotta put a skill as well. Let's do this again, which will give us plus 4% ranged weapon damage. Man, that scale is pretty strong. Like, if I was doing like 500 damage a shot, that could add up. But anyway, one thing I really like that Torchlight does is when you have these active quests, it puts the markers on your screen in a very easy-to-see way. So I can... let's activate this waypoint, I guess, so we can't just yet. Let's talk to this Vanquisher Scout. He's going to give us another quest, which is basically find the armor schematics, which I will do. And now that I've done this, and I've gotten this quest in here, No, I don't want to talk to you right now. I'm trying to talk to the viewers. God damn it. Okay. It'll put like these marks on your mini-map, which are very easy to find. I've never gotten lost in this game, and if you've ever seen me try to read a map, for example, Legend of Grimrock, you know that I am garbage when it comes to navigation. So this is really helpful for someone like me. So I got this waypoint. Again, I don't think I have to explain that. Here's something kind of cool. You can do fishing, which is done through this almost like QuickTime event type of thing. Come on. There we go. And when you catch a fish, which I didn't right there. Let's try that again. When you catch a fish, it's not like catching a fish in Minecraft or something where it's, come on. Maybe I'm not doing it properly. Where you get like food or something that you need to survive. That was bad too, I think. Okay. Not doing a very good job of it so far, but I really want to catch one so I can explain just what the heck it does. That's a good one right there. Alright, so we caught a big rip snout. Let's get one more, just so I can show you how they differ from each other. One more time. That was a pretty poor attempt by me there. Come on. There we go. Okay, and we also got a muckfish. So if I open up my inventory and go over here to consumables, you can see big rip snout and muckfish. Now what these do is basically give our pet effects. So we can transform our pet into a war beast for 15 minutes, which gives it higher damage. That's pretty useful. Or transform our pet into a jackal beast for 3 minutes, which gives it a venomous bite. So your pet is normally actually fairly strong, but you can also augment it by picking up these these fish that you come across. Yes, I accept the quest. Just making sure. So we're gonna move on. Kind of our first area here that we're actually on our own. This is like being outside of Tristram in Diablo 2. And we will just continue on here, looking at our mini-map to figure out where the heck to go, and of course, killing skeletons along the way. Now, the other thing I'd like to note is that there wasn't really any need for grinding, which is a problem that I have with a lot of RPGs that I've played. It seems very much like this game is like, okay, it would be in your best interest to be like level 10 or 15 when you go into this area, but you can definitely get through it by yourself at a lower level, as long as you have, you know, some certain patience or your good preparation. We picked up some item there. Sturmbian Armor of Mystery. Well, we will definitely wear that when we get to level 6, because I am currently wearing no armor, which means I am easily killed. And another thing I really like is the fact that, obviously, your armor, or your weapon choices, augment your appearance. So it's not like, what was that game recently? I think it was, I'm just trying to remember. I played an RPG recently, I think, actually, no, it was Dungeons of Dreadmore, where in Dungeons of Dreadmore, the armor that you get doesn't actually change how you look as a character, and I thought that was one of the biggest problems with that game, and that was one of the things that makes Isaac seem so replayable. It's very minor, but the ability for your character to look different based on the items that you have does add some replayability, whether like subconsciously or immediately apparent. And I like that Torchlight does that too. So every character you come across is going to look different. Of course, it's even more important in an online game like this, where you want your character to be unique, you know. So I came across a golden chest and a key, and I picked up a number of items and a fair amount of gold there. So we have light coif. We will replace our hood with this light coif. The reason for that being that this one has an empty socket, which makes it a little bit more valuable. And we also got an ice ember spec, which I am not going to use right now, because I don't like putting like shitty specs in armor. Because normally, like, that ice spec would give us like +4 ice resistance or something. I would rather save that for a good item that would give us, you know, +80 vitality or something. And there are items on the order of that. So it looks like we do have kind of a difficult boss here, so I just gotta make sure that I don't die. I may have to pop a healing potion at some point here. Looks like we got Farmer's Shotgun dropped, which could be a useful weapon for me. And like I said, my pet is like tearing ass here. Now, there's probably people wondering if you've never played the original Torchlight. I'm assuming this is how it worked in the original Torchlight. Like, what happens if your pet dies? Because you can see its HP up there, as well as its mana. Well, it doesn't really die. Your pet stops attacking. It becomes totally docile. And it's like, your pet is fleeing. So it's not like, you know, Call of Duty Modern Warfare situation where they're like, oh my god, they actually murdered that dog on camera? Video games are so mature these days. So I guess we've got these guys to deal with. Then I'll check out the loot that I gathered there. Like I said, I can't stress this enough. Torchlight 2 is a loot fest. So if you're not a fan of games like this, of like constantly changing your equipment, then you are probably not going to have as good a time as a lot of people who are really into that kind of like constant character customization and upgrade type thing. Like, for example, I'm a big fan of games like Dark Souls, where you really don't have to change your equipment that often. Like, by the mid-game, you can have the equipment that will carry you through the rest of the game, basically, as long as you just continue to upgrade it. But Torchlight 2 definitely seems like that kind of game where it's like, okay, I found a weapon, I'm going to use it for one dungeon, and at the end of that dungeon, I'm going to find a better weapon, which I'm going to use for future dungeons. Anyway, let's take a look at our equipment that we got here. So we got a bow that I'm not going to use, farmer's shotgun, which is two-handed, which I'm not going to use, simply because I want to keep dual wielding here. And I think that's basically all we got, that and a bunch of gold. We picked up some other items as well, but if you just have like blank slots, like for example, we probably picked up like some gloves or maybe some breeches. Yeah, I think we picked up some breeches. Basically, I had nothing in my pants slot before. Very funny, guys. Nothing in my pants slot before, so these just automatically slotted in there. Automatically slotted into my pants slot. Alright. So I guess we'll fight some zombies here. You know this game is a real video game because it contains zombies. These are obviously a common fantasy trope. Got an ice ring here, which should automatically slot in as well. Yes, gives us +5 ice resistance, which is basically worthless right now, but we can sell that for some gold a little bit later. And Miamin obviously has a quest for us as well. She wants to get the Scroll of Anam Eirik. That is fine by me. There's a lot of EXP, a lot of fame, and a lot of gold for that as well. So, it looks like I leveled up at some point, and I didn't even notice. Let's give us another 2 vitality points, and then crank the rest into dexterity, and we will upgrade this again. Again, +6% ranged weapon damage. I think this is going to start adding up, man. Although we've got to be level 6 to unlock the next rank. And you know, it's like your typical Diablo-style upgrades, where you need to be a certain level to unlock certain things. And also, like, as you get into the later ones, obviously you need to reach prerequisites or get skills in certain prerequisites before you can move on to higher level stuff, which is, you know, to be expected. Works fine. If it's not broke, why fix it? So as I mentioned, I'm oftentimes a fan of those Diablo or Dark Souls style games where it's like you eventually get good enough equipment that you just stick with it forever. And actually, that usually happens quite early on in Dark Souls, depending on your skill at the game. Anyway, but I'm rambling here. But you know, I can get behind a loot fest every now and then. And like I said, I really enjoyed my time with Torchlight 2. It's funny, I'm actually like waiting for Diablo 3 servers to fix themselves, and in the meantime, I was like, I'll boot up Torchlight 2, I gotta get a little bit more aptitude in that game before I can make a video of it and feel good. And, you know, thankfully the servers were down on my end for a long-ass time, because that gave me time to play through the entirety of the Torchlight 2 beta, and suddenly find myself pretty goddamn excited for it. And admittedly, I'm not actually sure how you can play the beta yourself, apart from just emailing Runic Games, which you probably should not do unless you have a reason, like your press or something. But I know if you pre-order the game, I think you get access to the beta. You definitely get access to Torchlight 1, which, you know, I might actually go check out now that I've come in through Torchlight 2. I don't know. I'm kind of rambling right now. All I'm trying to say is, if you're going to ask me how do you get a copy of the game, I'm sorry, I don't know. But I'm glad that I did. So we're just going to keep exploring this crypt here. I'll probably play until the end of this quest. So we're doing the active quest, Scroll of Anam Eirik right now. And when we finish this, you know, typical... I'm going to finish my sentence and then I have a point to make about originality, because I think it's important. So what I was going to say is, at the end of every dungeon, you know, like a typical RPG, usually there's a boss and the boss holds the quest item that you need to complete the quest and eventually bring to somebody. Now, it might sound like I'm saying typical all the time, like just like in Diablo, or just like in, you know, this other roguelike, or just like in Dark Souls, or The Binding of Isaac, or Dungeons of Dreadmore, etc., etc. This game, I don't think there's any question that this game is derivative. Like, certainly, I'm pretty sure when Torchlight was created, there was a design meeting where the guys were like, so, this is gonna be like Diablo, like, this is gonna be indie Diablo, right? And people were like, yep, that's exactly what it's gonna be. That doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. I mean, this is not gonna win any IGF prizes for creativity necessarily, but that being said, it is still fun as hell. So not every indie game has to be like an Inside a Starfield Sky or something that is just off the wall crazy. Oh man, the skeleton is crawling at me even though it doesn't have any legs. I leveled up, so obviously I will be trying to put my points into skills soon. And this, like right here, I'd say is pretty representative of the difficulty that I have found with Torchlight 2 so far, which is to say basically easy. I was playing this, at least remember I'm on normal right now, so you know, take what I'm saying with a grain of salt. Let's level up first and then I'll finish what I was saying. Again, we'll crank up our points into dexterity a little bit. And we will level up something else this time. Another passive, preferably. Yeah, you know what? Why not? +2 to damage. I'm gonna make myself a pure right-click hero here. Yeah, so I haven't found anything too difficult in Torchlight 2, at least after I learned like the basic mechanics of the game. For a while, it took me, you know, there's maybe like a 45-minute learning curve to this game until you figure out exactly what you're doing. Otherwise, you're just clicking randomly, and that doesn't always work out so well, but sometimes it does. I don't need any of this stuff, but I will take that fire ring for sure. But it's worth noting that the combat does get more complex as you progress throughout the game. Like, when I was playing as an engineer, when I first started, it was exactly the same as my play as an Outlander right here, which is to say that I was basically just left-clicking on heroes, or left-clicking on enemies, and taking them down. But as I got like closer to the end of the beta phase of the game, this is probably going to take us to a boss, by the way, so I'm going to finish what I'm saying here. As I got closer to the end of like the beta that they have provided, I had like different skills that I even had to, I wouldn't say micromanage, but I had to like, you know, use a variety of spells. Like I had this gun turret. Hey, what are you doing down here, zombie? He's not dead yet? I had this gun turret that I could spawn, and the gun turret would like follow me around and shoot at enemies. Then I had a healing robot that I could make that would do the same thing, only like heal me HP. And then I had all these spider mines that I could place. So it's definitely not just like left-clicking, and of course, you know, you can choose basically how to tailor your character. Like I could have gone for more active spells, but I preferred, you know, keep it simple, stupid. Not trying to win any Nobel Prizes here, just trying to play a video game. So I'm just going to continue attacking these guys. You know, standard dungeon crawling play here. I'm going to try to take out the minions first. You know, why not do a little bit of right-clicking on this guy too, do some damage. This is a champion undead. Taking a little bit of damage, but I think Calgog is going to go down fairly easily. Now, one thing I do kind of wish, I wish there was an easier or more reliable way for me to show off the multiplayer, because what I did not want to do is just, like, create a game and have random people join and be like, LOL, LOL, Northern Lions are queer, LOL. I think it's better this way to actually show off the single player so I can actually talk and know what the heck is going on and have control over it. I think I clicked on that monster shrine by accident. But the game really does shine in the multiplayer. Like playing single player, which I probably played, and again, I mean, I use single player loosely because in the multiplayer or in the beta, you can't play quote unquote single player. The only way to do it is to start a multiplayer game with a password. But you know, playing the single player was fine. It was nice I could talk on Skype with a friend, but playing the multiplayer last night when I first got started was really the most fun that I've had with this game so far, and I think this game is really going to shine. You know, in that same way that games like Diablo or, you know, massively multiplayer games shine when you can actually get like a group of friends playing together. I can see people spending a lot of time with this. Absolutely. So we will just continue on here. I think we're getting fairly close to the end of the dungeon. I haven't had too much experience with long dungeons. Usually dungeons tend to be like, you know, maybe 5 minutes in length, depending on your speed at getting through them. But there's definitely been like none that were huge multi-part endeavors. Got a mouse gun on the ground there. Not sure, maybe I want to pick that up. My inventory is probably getting not as close to full as I thought. Guess I've been picking up a lot of gold. Let's pick up all this stuff right here. I have no idea what a flammer is. I'm also not sure if the difficulty scales based on the number of players that you have. Like, I'm not sure if I had 4 people in the game right now, I'd have 4 times as many enemies. But suffice to say, right now, if they don't change the difficulty, it's probably way too easy. I did level up, so I should adjust my skills appropriately. First, we'll just take out these enemies that are across. Oh, it's a mimic! Use a Lloyd's Talisman! You notice that I haven't used, like, a potion at all so far, I think. But I probably will use one now, because we're maybe coming close to a boss. Like, we fought a champion, but I don't think that was a boss yet. Yeah, getting a little low on health, so we'll just pop a potion. It's not like Dota. You can still heal while you're being attacked. Let's pick up all this stuff. We got some gloves, health potion, great club. Picking up all this stuff basically to sell it back later. And let's quickly go through our inventory, because, you know, what is a loot fest if you're not constantly adjusting your equipment? So, let's see what we picked up. Bow, don't want to use. Light breeches, they are worse. These agile light military boots are better. Worse. Worse. Better. Let's equip this here, then. We've also got this... Oh, I thought that was a gun. Never mind. That looks really good, but I don't want to use it right now. Plus, you need to be level 13. Ice Amulet. I guess we'll use that here, because it gives us ice... whatever. Fire resistance, ice resistance, doesn't matter at all. Agile ringed gloves are better, and I think that's good for now. So let's move on. We are probably coming fairly close to the end of this dungeon here. Yeah, Fallen Guardian. So we are going to be fighting against the boss soon, and that will be the end of our dungeon, and probably also the end of my Torchlight 2 video. But first, let's level up for the last time, potentially. Let's put 3 and 2. And another skill point. We'll put that in our favorite passive here, giving us +8 ranged weapon damage. Also, that increased range is probably nothing to sneeze at. It means I can get in and out of things a little bit faster, probably. The one problem is that I don't really have any kind of crowd control right now, which could be a problem, I imagine. But for now, oh god, seems to be working out okay. Although I am slow as molasses. Hopefully, my pet can come in here and take out some of these DBs, because I'm getting disabled a little bit. It was actually not nearly as hard as I was making it out to be. But I may have to use a potion. Normally, I've been using a lot of potions, but they're also pretty easily found. Like, I'm not using a lot of potions in this video, but when I played through myself, I was using a fair amount of potions. But they're found all over the place. Definitely not like a too good to use type thing. Anyway, we'll take out our skeletal warrior here. Picked up some kind of cool belts, which I guess has been equipped. Yeah, it's got some sockets on it. Healthy Sturmburn belt. Nothing wrong with that. Just equip these a little bit. I'm not too worried about making sure I have the best equipment right now. But we are just killing these minions before we get to actually take on the big man himself. And so far, honestly, the boss fights have been fairly epic. Like, I've had some good boss fights, particularly in the multiplayer when you have like 5 or 6 guys just hammering away on one dude. And him taking all the hits and dishing out even more than it. It's nice. It's a good sense of scale, definitely. And I should preface this whole video, 30 minutes in, it's probably shitty to be saying it, but I'm not actually sure how far along this game is. I'm not sure if... I know it's supposed to come out in 2012, but I don't know if it's Christmas 2012 or if this is coming out in the summer or something. But it definitely seems pretty far along. Provided that the content for Act 3 and beyond has been produced, then, it's cool. I'm pretty sure that it's fairly polished right now, let's put it that way. I haven't encountered much in the way of bugs, except when I'm recording, which is obviously the worst possible time for it to happen. But for most of you, that's not going to be an issue. Anyway, I kind of thought this would be where the boss is, but I guess not. Gonna have to continue our exploration a little bit. Pet's getting a little low on health. You might be able to see what happens when a pet flees, but most pets don't flee. Most pets have fleas. Get it? Parasites. Okay, let's move onwards here. We got this guy who's gonna try to flee, I guess. Gotta be coming fairly close to the actual boss, him or herself. I don't remember this boss, actually. I think this is one of the ones I did in multiplayer where I was... Oh no, you know what? I joined the game in progress, and the person had already completed this dungeon. And they were like, well, sorry, dude. That kind of sucks for you. And it does, but I'm used to it. I mean, I'm used to it. I'm used to joining these games in progress. It ain't no thing. So we'll pick up ringed shoulders here. A little bit of shoulder armor. Continue taking out these skeletal generals. Not really causing me too much problem. We might as well pick up all this stuff. Inventory's getting kind of full, though. We can maybe use a TP scroll and start selling it back. So as you can see, these boss layers are kind of sprawling multi-part ordeals, not just walking inside and fighting a boss solo. I think the boss is probably down this way. There's a big chest. Yeah, that big skeleton is probably the boss, is my guess. So I'm just going to use my glaives here to basically burn a shit ton of mana, but also do some crowd control, because this is basically the only form of crowd control I have. Just going to keep attacking here, and I will pop potions as necessary. Probably didn't even need to pop one there, honestly. I thought that said wool shield. I was like, man, that is probably not very good. As you can see, Fallen Guardian is falling pretty easily, and I am taking some damage, but not nearly enough to make me fear for my life. And we'll get the scroll of Onam Irek, but I think I'm going to stop the video right here. I think this has been a pretty good indication of what Torchlight 2 is like, at least Torchlight 2 beta, and definitely, this is more than just the indie Diablo. This is something that I could definitely see a lot of people having a lot of fun with, particularly if you're a fan of dungeon crawling loot fests, and you have friends that you could play this with. Because definitely the multiplayer is where it's at with this. I'm definitely looking forward to its full release. You can pre-order it now on Steam and hopefully get access to the beta. Although, like I said, I'm not sure how that works. But there's people other than Press playing it right now. Let's put it that way. But as always, thank you guys for watching. I will see you next time.